me for this talk. My name is Manu, and it's my pleasure to be sitting along with this eminent set of people on this dais. I represent Happiest Minds Technologies. Now, I know a lot of people are confused about, what's happy to do with technology. But Happiest Minds Technology, I'll just give a brief introduction about Happiest Minds Technology and then get into it. I had a presentation, but I thought it may not be appropriate to do a presentation at this point in time. So we'll just talk a little bit and I'll get out of the way. So Happiest Minds Technologies is an IT services company. It started about 2 years back. It's promoted by Mr. Ashok Soota, who has had a history of, bringing Wipro to a certain level, founding Mindtree, taking it to a certain level, and this is his newest venture. Why Happiest Minds? 2 reasons. One, I guess Ashok Soota has seen it all. So he believes that happiness is the theme of life, though IT has not been providing as much happiness as he would have wanted to. So he wants to create a company where happiness becomes the theme and that reflects in the name. The second why he founded a new company was really, we have been talking all through the day. There are 4 mega trends which probably are changing the way solutions are getting delivered to this world. They are social, cloud, mobile, and the analytics on top of it. And the beauty about M2M is that it actually brings all of these solutions together to deliver business benefits and human benefits. Now, I represent Happiest Minds, and I am in charge of the M2M initiatives within Happiest Minds. What we really do is to create reference solutions, to create reference products. We don't create products, we don't sell solutions, but we do implement them for our customers, right? Whether they are products from a hardware perspective or platforms which need to be created, or a solution which needs to be created by using these platforms and products. Now, coming to my perspective, and I think a lot of things have been spoken today. I don't think I have a lot of new things to talk about, but I'm trying to give a little different perspective of the smart or the green environment, as we call it, right? Now, I firmly believe that whichever way the previous generation has handed over the world to us, when we pass on this world to the next generation, we need to make it better and give it off, right? As much better as we can. And that's what we owe to the next generation, right? And if we have to do that, I believe that we have to bring in those behavioral changes, and that can only happen if systemic changes are coming into place. Now for me, M2M is a promise to bring about those systemic changes. M2M is a promise to set up systems, to set up that transparency, to set up systems to monitor and manage, which can bring about those systemic changes, which can bring about those behavioral changes, right? Now, when we go and implement M2M solutions for our customers, there are a few principles which we follow, and I believe that those are the principles which need to be followed for any implementation which can make it a success. Cost, reliability, scalability are given. They are hygiene, right? If they are not there, it will not work. But principle number 1, if you cannot measure, you cannot manage. Heard that before? All of us have heard that before in the management parlance, right? In M2M, it's all the more true. If you want to manage a specific situation, you need to measure it, and the sensors and the platforms and the applications are going to do it for you, right? You need to know what you need to manage and hence what you need to measure. Number 2, the better the information, the better the management. What do I mean by better the information? We have talked about a lot of sensors, millions of sensors around there collecting, petabytes of data being put in the cloud. But that's not information, that's data. What do I do with that data is what creates information. And the better I can create that information. How do I create better information? By correlating various data sources to figure out what needs to be done with that. By doing analytics on top of it, can I do some predictions based on the trends which I am seeing, right? So the better the information, the better I can manage. Principle number 2. Number 3, the more easy the tools are, the better the adoption will be. You cannot complicate the whole situation. right? There are training challenges. The more you go towards the rural areas, we have been talking about it, the more you go towards the rural areas, there are challenges. So the easier the tools to be used in creating a solution, the better adoption it will be. And last but not the least, the more real time the data is, the better decisions I can take. Right? I cannot depend on data which is a month old and then start thinking about what needs to be done. The more real time I am, the better control I'll have over the systems. Now, given these principles, I think any M2M solution which follows these principles would end up being, to a certain degree of percentage, a success. Now, why we are talking about M2M, these principles have been existing, we have been creating these applications before as well. Why are we talking about M2M now? And I think there are two major factors why we are talking about M2M today. One, the mobile phones, the proliferation of mobile phones and hence the communication networks have actually allowed us to reach to the end people like never before. Right? And the number two reason is the proliferation of the cloud. The cloud is allowing everybody to get connected with a common infrastructure. And those two reasons are actually allowing us to create M2M solutions of this world. Now let's come to the green environment. I believe there are, and that's my own opinion, right? There are two major sources which are not allowing us to be green. One is the coal-burning power stations, right? A lot of coal-burning power stations. And number two is the exhaust which comes from millions of vehicles in this country. Now, if we were to create a green environment, pass on a good world to our next generation, I think we'll need to monitor, control, and manage these two at least. One of the studies which shows, and this study was conducted in the US, but it has as much relevance as anywhere else, is that 1 gallon of gas, the petrol, produces about 19.4 pounds of carbon dioxide. Right? The second statistics there was, if we were to improve fuel efficiency by 5 miles per gallon, okay, we would potentially eliminate 17 tons of carbon dioxide from the earth per year. Now that's the potential. Now we have been playing around with the environment, now is the time to measure and see how we can manage the whole thing. Now if we have to manage the fuel efficiently, there are a few things which you would want to measure when creating a solution allowing the environment to become green. Things like, unnecessarily idling of the vehicles. Can I measure that? There are tools to do that, right? How can I make efficient maintenance of the engines? How can I be predictive enough? How can I allow the fleet owners, have you seen I have seen some of the trucks which carry the waste from the garbage, which are garbage collecting, vehicles, pathetic conditions.
Going on the road.
Right? Now they're supposed to be collecting garbage, but probably they are putting in more CO2 in the environment than somebody else. How can I efficiently create maintenance of engines? How can I be predictive in that? How can I do things right in the first instance? For example, if I go and collect garbage from somewhere, and I don't collect from a few places, do I need to go back again? Can I do the things right the first time and be more efficient? How can I do route management? How can I avoid heavy traffic routes? How can I create a system where I am able to control overspeeding, for example? Right? These are certain things which ought to be measured, not only for individual vehicles, but for fleets, whether held by private companies or by the government, to be able to create that awareness, to be able to create that control over fuel efficiency. Now the second part which comes about fuel efficiency is, why don't we move on to electric vehicles? Right? Now that's another alternative which is coming in, but the problem there is charging stations. And charging stations are a problem because electricity is a big problem in the country. We are probably, as a setup, right? As India, we are probably the 4th largest setup in terms of the power systems in the world. But in terms of the consumption of electricity per person, we are probably 1/4 of the average consumption across the world. So which means there is so much to be done in terms of producing more electricity for getting that basic electricity at homes. Now we're talking about electrical vehicles. How do we solve that problem? And that's where I believe the smart grid initiative, which has happened in India, which the government is pioneering, is going to help out a lot. The smart grids are going to ensure that two things. One, the renewable energy becomes as efficient in providing energies as the coal-burning power stations. Number two, it can potentially help, by putting smart meters at homes, it can potentially help people to be energy producers along with being consumers. Right? Now the smart meters are going to talk to the substations and ensure that a seamless flow of electricity is happening between the two, and only a part of it is getting charged to the end consumer because he's providing electricity back. Now, given these initiatives, I do believe that M2M has a great future. Companies like us who provide implementations and help in creating products, the government sector and the product companies, I think will need to come together to deliver the right solutions. The last point I would just make is there is certain element of policy making as well involved in this. It cannot happen just because a few enterprises, a few industries are trying to make it happen. It has to be policy driven. Because I can only think about one of the UN's initiative about the Kyoto Protocol and about the carbon credit economy which they wanted to create. And I think that was a fantastic idea to allow carbon credits to be earned and the carbon emissions to come down. It has not worked very well because UN doesn't have as much control over all the countries, including America. But maybe a similar system across states within the country may work. Right? Now, if such type of policies are coming in the forefront, where there is an incentive for the states to be able to earn carbon credits and trade carbon credits, maybe things will change. So my parting thought is really, there are technologies, there are solutions, there are methodologies to implement that, but I think they need to be backed up by the right policies and the right implementation initiated by the government. Thank you.